Hello. This video will be the first in a series of videos related to the MB Sports Web Tryout Lists feature. This will just be a quick introduction to what tryout lists are, and also will cover some of the pros and cons of using the feature. So tryout lists are a way to list the players who are trying out for a team on the website. This list will normally include those who have either made the team or have been selected, or those who are still trying to make the team, and in our system we call those pending. By default, when a player is cut or released, they will no longer show on the list. There are ways to have players who are released to appear on the list, but by default they will just not show at all. And doing this process online has gained in popularity over the last several years. In fact, MB Sports Web has had the tryout list as a feature in the site since about 2011. The way of doing tryout lists is not something that's new. People have posted lists of players on the wall at the arena or at the ball diamond for years. Doing it online has been a relatively new phenomenon, and it seems to have been working quite well. Now, some of the arguments that are against using tryout lists online is that it's very impersonal, and that is compared to a traditional face-to-face meeting. Because usually during those face-to-face meetings, there's the opportunity for the coach or the evaluator to let the players know what areas of improvement they can work on, perhaps specifically why they weren't selected for the team, things like that. That face-to-face meeting doesn't happen when using an online tryout list, so that opportunity can be lost. And each association might have their own arguments against using tryout lists as well. But some of the arguments for using online tryout lists that we've seen over the last few years, again, is that they are impersonal. The message itself is being delivered as far as the status of the player, whether they've been selected or released, and emotions are not part of that message. They are very private, so instead of traditionally where the player would have a face-to-face meeting with the coach or evaluator, leave the room, and the coach and evaluator doesn't see what happens to the player once they leave because they have to work with the next player. So if the news was not particularly positive for a player, then perhaps they are reacting to it in such a way that they would not be comfortable in front of their peers. So because they're private, the players can go home, and in the comfort of their own home, surrounded by their support group of family and friends, they can learn whether or not they've been selected or released for the team. For convenience, for both the players and the coaches, but in particular the players, they don't have to wait in a long line after the tryout session. Again, if traditionally the releases are happening by face-to-face meetings, then that meeting should be taking anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and if there's 10 players being released, whoever's 10th in line has to wait an awful long time to find out whether or not they've made the team. So using the online tryout list allows people just to have the tryout session, go home, or do whatever they need to do, and find out later. Because there's also that additional time after the tryout session, the coaches and evaluators can use that time to make better decisions about which players they want to select for their team. So they can carefully consider everything that happened in the tryout session that just occurred, and then after a time make that decision and post that decision online. Even if the coaches don't do that, there's at least the perception that they had the opportunity to do that. And lastly, this one's come up more and more lately, is risk management. You might have the best coach in the world who can teach their team on how to effectively develop and maybe even try to win lots of games. But that coach may not be effectively trained on what can and, more importantly, cannot be said when telling a player that they've been cut from the team. So just from a risk management standpoint, if, again, it ties into the first one being impersonal, if the coaches aren't involved in delivering that message, just let the website say what the message is. It can be something that's a risk management thing for the association. So in quick summary, the tryout list feature is something that MB Sports Web has had for several years. It's a very mature feature. It's an easy way to communicate which players should attend the next tryout session. That's really all it does. We advise everybody to carefully weigh the pros and cons of the online tryout list before they implement them. Each association might have additional pros that weren't talked about today or additional cons that weren't talked about. So we just want to make sure that you know all of the benefits and disadvantages to using the list. And if you do decide to go ahead and use the list, it is something that is gaining in popularity. and more associations and teams use this online tryout list feature each year. So it seems to be something that is working quite well for people. And something that you can even do to minimize some of those cons of the online trial list is to offer a face-to-face meeting with the players who have been released sometime after like a cool down period of maybe 24 hours or a couple of days. And if possible, ideally, it would be great to have a person who is specifically trained or definitely knows what can and cannot be said during that meeting to deliver the actual message. So someone like a coach mentor. So if it's something that you guys want to move forward with for your association or for your team, the rest of the videos in this series will talk about how to get those lists set up and how to manage them as tryouts are ongoing. Thank you.